Good afternoon, everyone. Episode 36. Chris and I here.
Hello, we care.
We care. And we're going to get to know stuff.
Yeah,
New slogan.
we've discussed it.
Yeah.
As this is about knowing, it's about being informed of what's going on,
Yeah.
and recommendations.
I mean, we don't know everything, but I mean, we could give you some recommendations as much as we can, right? So that's what we're going to be doing more of throughout our podcast. So today we're going to talk about opening up, letting go your, I guess we could say, I don't want to say emotions, but letting go what you feel inside you, getting everything off your chest. Chanting would be one of them. Opening up to yourself, to your spouse, to your friends, to your journals.
I have a great song. Say what you need to say.
Exactly.
Say what you need to say.
That was a good old oldie right there.
That was.
Yeah. So we were talking about that and how it links really with, I guess, blocking our thyroid. I mean, we spoke about the throat chakra a lot. We're not going to speak too much. But we're just going to summarize how it ties in with the throat chakra a little bit. But basically, we want to open up and let everything out, because if we keep it all blocked in, then our energies, again, talking about energies, but everything stays within the throat and blocks the natural movement, even biochemistry movement of the body.
Yeah, to summarize, it's really like needing to know more about why is the throat important? Why does this thing connect this to the rest?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of important information that everyone should know, which that's why it's about becoming known.
So first off, let's start with just the thyroid, right? Yes, we want to open up, but why does opening up help with the thyroid? Basically, we see that the thyroid is part of the throat chakra, the color blue, right? We're always expressing. So when you wear a lot of blue or eat a lot of blue, you're opening up your throat chakra, but you're also opening up or helping your thyroid at the same time, because energies are flowing more efficiently. You're communicating more easily. That's something a lot of us, including myself, I'm doing these podcasts for our 36th time, but I had a problem, and sometimes I still have problems communicating properly or well. This is a lot of practice for me, and I've traveled to teach and whatnot, but I always had stage fright, and lately, doing more, being more around people, practicing, I'm opening up a lot more. I'm doing my own rituals, which we're going to get to with the chanting. I've been opening up more. I'm more confident in myself. I've surpassed I'm going to call them my fears, and I actually feel better. And why thyroid is linked to it, why I feel better, or I notice I feel better, is that normally when our feet, our hands are always cold, it means that there's a poor circulation in the body. It also means there's a lack of energy in the thyroid. So that's why we're touching on this topic for today, because it's freaking cold outside. So stay warm as much as possible. But yeah, when that happens, the thyroid slows down its metabolism. What happens is that it also means you're overly stressed. I'm not going to go too much in depth. We'll probably do a whole podcast at some point where we talk about the whole scheme of the thyroid and how it's related. But basically, in the nutshell, when you're too overly stressed, what happens is your body starts to shut down, and metabolism starts to slow down, and what happens, it knocks on the thyroid and asks for help. The metabolism of the thyroid is the next sidekick, we'll call it, to the rest of the body's metabolism to give it its energy. And that's why a lot of people feel or may feel fatigued, or hypothyroidism are more apparent these days, because a lot of people are fatigued, they overstress their bodies, and what happens is they start crashing because their metabolism is down, their thyroid is down. So what can you do to elevate that, right? Cayenne pepper is a good one. I love cayenne pepper because I use it with myself and I see good benefits. It helps elevate the heat in the body, so that can help with the circulation as well. Or the other thing is you go naturally with supplements. So L-tyrosine is one of the main nutrients for the thyroid hormones, and it is beneficial to help with the circulation. You could also use, I've tested a lot of clients with vitamin D3. You up your vitamin D3 a lot. Again, testing it would be the best. If not, you stick with a 5,000 to 10,000 units, 5,000 to 10,000 IU, international units per day. I've seen great benefits. A lot of people are going to just tell you don't go more than 2,000 a day. don't be afraid to go up. The only thing I'm going to tell you is make sure you're digesting properly or digesting your fats properly, because too much fat, which your vitamin D3 is a fat soluble vitamin, too much fat will cause stools to be liquid, diarrhea and whatnot in the body. So just make sure you're digesting your fats properly. You'll be able to see that through your feces. Sorry, but yes, you'll be able to see that through your feces. If you have oily feces, if you're not digesting your foods properly, you'll see it through your feces. That's an indication. So try and elevate with L-tyrosine. Ashwagandha is one of my favorites. It helps with your cortisol levels as well in the gut, and it helps a lot for your thyroid. So my go-to would be L-tyrosine, ashwagandha, vitamin D3. Those are just the basics. That's all in a nutshell. Don't want to go too complicated. Like I said, we're going to do a little more on the thyroid eventually when we get more complex subjects on the matters. But that's it. So basically, opening up opens your vocal cords as well, and this is where chanting comes in. This is where one of your rituals comes in. When you chant, Chris is going to tell you a little more about that, but when you chant, you're expressing yourself, you're opening up, you're letting the universe know that you're there, you're powerful, you're confident. So it's a chant where you see this a lot with rugby players, like I was just mentioning with Chris, but you see this before to show that you're present and you're confident and you're ready. I don't know if you want to say more about the chanting.
No, those were a lot of good things. I was really taking it in. At the beginning that I started joining, I always like to mention the 4 levels of, physical, emotions, mentality, and spiritual. And spiritual is very simple, which is why we talked about the chakra, but we're not going to mention it right now. But I just want to mention how you just brought up all the physical parts, right? And that's something that we think about a lot, but we don't recognize how our intakes affects us. And I think it's important you went over those things, because these are things that, we have so much access to so much food, but it's insane how everyone just focuses on chicken, steak, ribs, and that's it. And it's like, wait a minute, there's so much more out there. It's insane.
The other thing, if I may, since you mentioned food, try and avoid dairy and gluten as much as possible as well. Why dairy? Because it causes a lot of mucus in the gut, and it creates a dysfunction as well creating too much mucus will cause a dysfunction in the thyroid as well, cause overstress.
And, if you think about thyroid medication, that's something as well, just for physicalness.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're going to move on to chanting, and chanting is more of an emotional outburst. And that's something that's very important, because
hold on, not just emotional, spiritual too. A lot of spiritual people do that as well. The
during
natives and stuff.
A lot of my meditations have come to make me really realize that spirituality and emotions might actually be the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I have a feeling that one day I'm going to argue that and make a thesis about it in my own way. Because when you let things out, you feel it. Mm-hmm. And chanting, if you look at every ritual out there, there's a chant. And I'm not saying cult-wise, I'm saying every religion out there, they do chants. If you pray, that's a chant. And, if you want to look at it on a psychological level, it's mantras. Mm-hmm. And mantras are important too. And there's just coming to realize more and more positive affirmations and stuff like that. Yep. I was mentioning before that, some classes out there actually go into a room that's soundproof and just scream. They let it out. I really want to start doing that at some point. But it's actually part of laughter yoga as well, because when it comes to letting things out, it makes that throat chakra let everything come out, right? The mind and the body is connected to the throat. So when we talk about letting out, it comes out of your mouth. But this is really where all those emotions come out. Because, like we discussed, feces, that's physical, and it comes out the other end. But when it comes to when it comes to emotions, it really comes out of your throat. And when it comes to your mentality and how you think, that comes out of your throat as well. So, again, if we're going to look at the 3 most important things, emotions, mentality, mental thinking processes, and physical, they really do come out of the throat. And you could say technically if you're constipated, it's because you're holding things in.
A lot,
And that's
a lot of the time, yes.
And any doctor can tell you that too, right? Stress is the enemy.
Stress is the enemy. So what happens when you're constipated and like we said, we're holding everything in. You're blocked up. There's no proper flow in the body. There's no proper flow when you communicate as well, so you're blocking that flow in your throat. So it's the same concept. Same concept in your throat like it is in your stomach. And that's everything all over your body. If you're not using your mind properly to flow properly, you're blocking your mind, then you start having fogginess, you start being forgetful, you're not using your mind, right? So we always think of the saying, use it or lose it, right? So that's exactly what it is. So if we don't use our expression, well, we're going to end up suffocating ourselves with our own throats.
And it's not easy to have a conversation,
No,
which
it's not
is
easy.
actually going to be one of the courses I'm working on for the online program, is how to communicate. Because sometimes we think we have to say the perfect thing, but actually you got to let all of it out.
Mm-hmm.
And the real lesson in communication is how to listen properly. Because you're going to hear all this, right? All this message, like a big balloon. But at the end of the day, it was that little bit that started it all. And it was the topic of, for example, food, right? Some people say, traditionally, I want turkey to be cooked this way. And then the argument goes into, you never listen to me! And then all kinds of other things come up. But, like, the reality is, you got to listen to the whole thing and really recognize that one little thing that was really all about is just wanting to share someone's tradition of how they cook the turkey. And so chanting is really letting that out. Chanting is it's expressing, but it's like your visualization, right? It's like saying, I want a car. I want a
It's
car.
your visualization. You're expressing it more out loud. You're putting it you're saying it out loud into the universe. Like, again, we're going back to the energies a bit, but everything's tied, obviously. But you're letting it out, making everyone, the universe know that this is what I want. This is how I am expressing it. This is how it's going to come out. So we'll talk about being positive or negative. The more we are positive, the more we speak positive, the more we will become positive or we stay positive.
Exactly. And think of it the same way as a musician. Once you hit those chords, music comes out. And people feel things when there's good music, right? It's the same thing when you talk, when you chant, when you affirm what you want in the world. If you just swear all day and you're just negative, and then you wonder why negative things happen to you, well, it's obvious, right? And it's the time to take responsibility and recognize, what have I let out? And that's what I'm manifesting.
So Chris mentioned the perfect thing, actually, that we try and be perfect, and if I may, perfect just leads to, or perfect just means, or trying to be perfect means that you're more insecure. You're holding in a lot of insecurities because you're still uncertain. So perfection equals uncertainty. That's the best way to think of it, because what happens is you're trying to think of every little single thing to be perfect. For example, if I'm on this podcast and I'm saying every word has to be aligned properly and I can't make a mistake, but that's because I'm uncertain myself. I'm unconfident. I'm
insecure.
I'm insecure, but I'm not confident about myself. But see, I'm just
you're rambling.
I'm rambling.
It's
I'm doing it
okay.
on purpose, but I'm insecure and I'm not confident. But that comes with practice. The more that you don't think or care about what people say and you just blur out what you want, obviously if it's positive and unharmful, but you blur out what you want, eventually you'll be able to have a phrase that makes sense because you're more confident, your words are coming out more fluid, and you're realizing, oh snap, I could do this. Don't have to be perfect for something to be great,
And to add on to that,
Yeah.
I've really been looking into the word magic, but when it comes to words, and perfect has a lot of power. And I really mean it. It has so much power. But you have to ask yourself this: who gets to
I
define
was just gonna say the same thing.
what is perfection? Right?
Everyone has their own vision of perfection.
But not only that, when is it really your vision and when is it the outside world's vision.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, stress is supposed to be used to figure out what to do in a life or death situation.
Fight or flight.
Exactly. So if a bear comes out of nowhere, now it's time to be like, I gotta do something about it. I'm gonna use that, stab it, or run, so on and so forth. But when we start thinking that we need to be perfect and we see that as a danger,
Causes stress every day.
exactly. And that's where it leads to chronic stress.
The
It
problem
leads
with
to-
that is also the more we try and be perfect, the more we're never gonna be perfect because there's always gonna be something. Then we're gonna try and be perfect. On top of that, being perfect.
I think there's a great word you're looking for is if you're going to try to make everyone happy, you won't.
That too.
The only person you can control in being happy is
Yourselves.
exactly yourself. If my expectations are low and I'm meeting them, I'm happy. If others come at me and say, you gotta be like this.
But
Who
see,
are
that's the other
they?
thing. Too. Okay, now we're getting a little off topic, but that's the other thing.
Well, that's the point of talking about these known stuff.
Exactly. I'm just saying, like that's the other thing too, is that there shouldn't be any expectations, because what happens with expectations is we end up deceiving ourselves, and
And
we end up being stressing even more. Oh my god, I didn't get the deadline. Oh my god, I didn't do this. But who's to say that needed to be done on this perfect specific time? We just give ourselves time and deadlines.
And this
There's
is
too much
where
expectations.
we're gonna wrap it all nicely in a nice bow by saying those thoughts come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? And when those thoughts don't come out so that someone else could support you, that's where this starts causing problems for your metabolism.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And there you go. It's all connected
Yeah.
very well together because all of it's connected. Right? So our thoughts, what comes out into our body system, it's all connected. And that's why chanting is a good thing.
Laughter is even better.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that very soon.
And that's the other thing too, right? Laughter is the other thing too, but nobody laughs anymore, or not like
The
we
more
did when we were
older
a kid.
you get, the less laughter you have. Why?
More older, bro. The more better. You see, he's not perfect, but you guys got the message. I just wanted to throw that in there.
I didn't even notice I did that. The older you get, the more expectations of perfection comes out. And because of that, you laugh less.
We lose the sense of the child in us.
Innocence.
Yeah, that's exactly it too. We lose that inside of us because the more we age, which age is just a freaking number, but the more we age, the more that we put pressure on ourselves to be perfect for everything. We need a family, we need a house, we need this, we need that.
Hey, here's a perfect example. Someone at 20 says, I gotta be married by 24. So then makes a decision to date certain people and stick to a relationship because the expectation is, I gotta be knowing this person for 4 years.
And they're unhappy.
Exactly, because after 4 years, you did all of this investment in somebody who was supposed to meet this expectation, but it wasn't true love, it wasn't true honesty.
It wasn't their true selves either.
There you go. And so when that happens, it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Hence why, sadly, as it is today, what is it? It was 60 before the pandemic. 60% of marriages are going to fail. After the pandemic, I think it rose up to 70, maybe 75.
No, it wasn't
Don't
51.
quote me.
51 before the pandemic, and I think it rose to 56, 60, something like that.
Or that. The point is, it's getting sadder. And the reason why is because these expectations are ruling us. Instead of living life as it needs to be, just being in the flow, like we've discussed before, things happen. And it
But the
starts
other
to
thing
bring
is,
you
Chris,
down.
I think, is that people don't want to put in the work for themselves either to, I want to say the word fix, but it's probably the worst thing. They don't want to help themselves get to a level where they know that they should be, but I think it's fear or something, some kind of blockage that they don't want to put in the work that they could let out the person that they're supposed to be.
And I think I have a great story for you. Because when I was younger, I failed. When I failed grade 2,
We all did.
I lost a lot of stuff. I lost friends, I lost this. So a lot of people, they live this fake life for so long, but then they believe all that time was an investment. See, if you ever invest in stocks and it crashes, well, you lost it. It's over. It's done. You can't go back and get back your money. It's gone. But socially speaking, you're still holding on to that friend who's been causing you problems for so long. You're still holding on to that person in a relationship that's causing you so much problems. You're still pushing for a hobby without loving it anymore because you've lost that joy out of it. And the reason why they're so blocked to letting it go is because they're afraid of admitting failure.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, failure is something we really need to come to accept as a society.
But it's not
For
a
example,
bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing. If I didn't fail,
well, it's a very good thing.
If I didn't fail most of my years in my career coming, I mean, I still fail. I'm not going to say I'm perfect or anything. I'm not perfect, but I still fail on a day-to-day basis, but it's because failure just leads to my biggest success because it's just keeping me learning. And that's the other thing. It's
The wisest people in the world, Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, I forget who said this, but there's a quote that goes, only those who know how to fail know how to succeed.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah.
Plain and simple.
You could fail 99 times, but that one time that you succeed, there goes, you blew up after. You're the next big thing, you know?
But it's also because of those failures that you got to success.
But the other thing is,
You have to learn.
not only learn, you never had to give up.
Exactly.
You were persistent and consistent in everything you did. You didn't let yourself say, okay, I'm gonna just quit the drawing board and that's it. No, you went through with it. You opened up. You spoke more. You built that confidence. You learned. You knew that there was other ways to succeed, and that's the main thing. Where if you bottle everything up, if you bottle everything up in a relationship, if you bottle everything up in a business, if you bottle everything up in anything, you don't open up, well, you're never going to know what, I guess I'm going to say, the future holds, because you never experienced it like you should have, because you never went to that extent. So if you give up on yourselves, if you give up on your relationships, if you give up on your business, on anything, you don't know what in front of you would hold. So yeah, you could take the easy way out and say, I'm going to just bite my tongue and live with it and not be happy. You lose your laughter and everything, like we're saying. But you could also say, why don't I try and level up with myself first, right? We always want to level up ourselves first, then level up with the person we're with, then level up with the business we're in. You always want to try and level up. Progress equals, I'm using the word perfection. Progress, okay, we'll use progress equals greatness instead.
Or, it equals success. And
Yeah.
it equals success in the form that you adapt. You know?
That's a perfect word to actually adapt.
And, journeys, at the end of the day, is supposed to go up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's totally something we should talk about for next podcast, because I watched something great yesterday and I was like, wow. But anyways, I'm not going to bring it up. Since we're almost at the end, we're at 1 minute, it's 1 o'clock, let's just talk about laughter for a moment. So my laughter journey, and this is hot topic right now, so you're getting a real good show out of this one, started back in 2014.
That's not true. Started when he was a kid.
That's for sure too, but I went silent as a child. But anyways,
High school, no. You were not silent in high school. You hear that laugh from a mile away.
I did find my voice. But in 2014, I was doing a fundraiser with an organization, and a group of people came up to me after it was a fundraiser at a Comedy Nest, and they were like, "We like your laugh." And I was like, "Who are you?" And then they said, "We actually have a club where we laugh together." And I'm like, again, "Who are you?" And they said, "You should totally join us." And I was like, again, you are strangers and you want me to come to a club that laugh with you. So luckily, an organizer of the organization I was with goes to these meetings and she says, "Oh, for sure, you should totally come." And I'm like, okay, at least I'll go with somebody who's not a stranger to me, to these strangers. So I did go. And I gotta say, it was amazing. We got into a circle, we laughed together for no reason. And I just started really getting into it. And then from there, they say, now you have to represent the club. I'm like, represent it where? At a championship. And I'm like, what? There's a championship? Yeah, laughter championship. What? So I was against 16 other people in Montreal, by the way, and I won most contagious laugh in 2014.
I wonder why.
Thank you. And then the judge comes up to me and says, you need to become a laughter yoga instructor. And I'm like, what's that? Well, you get to instruct and teach people how to laugh properly and to feel really good and accept their laughter. And I'm like, at this point, why not? And that brought me to another journey where I got to do laughter with people with special needs. I did laughter with adults. I did laughter with a whole school, which was really great to really discuss how laughter you can still bring laughter to sad situations and laugh with people who are going through a tough time. And then from there I became a laughter teacher, so I can actually certify people to become instructors of laughter. And then just last year, in 2021, I became the most diabolical laugh in all of Canada. And then when it was time for the World Championship, I didn't get accepted, but he asked me to be the head judge and ruler for the championship. So I got to choose who the big winner was. It was really good. And now, I think I told you this, I've been asked to co-host or host, I'm not sure if he's going to be there, but I'm going to be hosting the Canadian Laughter Championship in Canada online on Zoom. And you're all invited. It was going to be great to see that.
Yeah.
And that's my laughter journey. It's crazy and it's still growing.
And it's going to be growing here also.
Exactly. And there's 3 services at the end of the day when it really comes to laughter for me. It's laughter therapy, which is really more of a one-on-one talk. And it's like life coaching in the way that we're going to discuss situations and we're going to recondition them in a positive manner. The second thing we're going to be doing is some laughter community laughs. And last but not least, I want to do some laughter games here. I think it'd be big party time. Come together, do some laughter games. Maybe win a tournament. Maybe win a medal. We'll see what happens.
Put those up on the schedule, or we're gonna promote that. But we're also gonna be having laughter yoga itself too. Chris is gonna be taking care of that.
That's the second one. Sorry, community, whatever.
Laughter
Sessions.
Laughter
group community. Yeah. So laughter yoga. Anyway, just very excited.
That's why we're gonna put all that on the schedule. We're gonna keep promoting it for sure. That being said, hopefully you guys start opening up a little more, even if it's just writing it in a journal. Get your expressions out. Start it off. If you can't speak, at least write it out and then practice that way. Write it on a journal and then start saying it out loud. It's gonna bring you it's still gonna bring you some awareness and some clarity in practice and lets it out exactly. So just because you don't say it, just writing it out still says a lot, really. What you think and what you write is kind of the same thing in a way, because you're letting it out. So open up, be cautious, because you don't want to destroy your metabolism. You don't want to be too stressed and put more stress on your body. So let the energies flow properly. And that's it. We're going to get you guys laughing as much as we can, because we need to laugh.
And we're going to finish this off by singing, "Say what you need to say." Say what you need to say. Bye.
See you guys next week.
Have a great week.